Hi, it's Therese and I'm here for Penny Black and it's time to give me five. So five same but different cards today, and they look a little bit more different than they do the same, and that's because I'm going to be doing a fun technique. And this is the stamp set that gave me the idea. It's the Hometown Christmas and this line of houses. I just saw this and thought this would make a great clean and simple design for a card. And a Christmas card. They're all going to be Christmas cards today, and I figured what I'll do is I'll share with you how I create my backgrounds when I want to line up images, and creating lines of images and keeping it really simple but getting more from your stamps. So I'm using some Onyx Black ink. All my panels today are the same size as the front of my card, and I use the grid line. So this is a tool called the Fisker's stamp press, and it's the normal size one. There is a compact one as well. I use this a lot when I want to do a repeated stamping because it has these grid lines on it, and what I can do is each time I can look at the grid lines on the plastic of the stamp press and make sure that they're equal with the edge of my card. So because there's grid lines all over it, it's easy to line up. The sentiment today comes from the same set, and I've just white heat embossed it on some nice bright red cardstock, and I'm just going to cut that down. How simple is this first card? And because the image is already in a line, it just came together in 3 minutes. Under 3 if you count the sped up time on my video. Oh, can you hear the thunder? Oh, it's not very good, is it? Okay, so I did consider adding some bling to this card, but I've restrained myself. Now I'm using my stamp press again. This time I'm just going to be using one image and repeat stamp this across my card. Now you could draw lines and stamp, you could measure, it doesn't matter. I just found the easiest way to do this is to use my stamp press. And like I say, the bigger one is better because I can reline it up every time on the card, and I don't have to move it round because this is big enough that it fits over the whole front of my card panel. So I'm using some olive color green ink and stamping out the tree image, and I want to do this in lines. So every time I stamp it, I just make sure that my grid line is even across the top of the card. When I start a new line, I've actually staggered the trees, but I look at where my grid line is again along the edge of my card at the top or the bottom, and I keep lining it up with that same line each time. It's a really easy way to line up a stamp. And I always make sure that I go off the edge of the cardstock as well. So I've stamped out another image, and this is from the same set again. This is the Hometown Christmas. It's a really sweet stamp set, and just doing some really simple Copic colouring. It's the VW Bug car, and I thought it'd be a nice bright red colour. It's going to stand out on that background, and it has a tree tied to the roof, so I thought that really ties in with my tree background that I stamped, my lines of trees. I will list all of the colours of the Copics that I've used over at my blog, but otherwise you can see the lids, the tops of the lids off to the side here. I did do a little bit of shading, not a lot. And I did actually fussy cut this image out, but I don't actually share that with you here on the video. The sentiment from this set, I'm going to white heat emboss again, and I'm doing this on some black cardstock. It's from the same stamp set, so far really focusing on that one great stamp set. Popping this on the front of my card, just using an ATG, and popping up the sentiment with some black foam squares, and also my little car. Card number 2 is done with my single image repeatedly stamped in lines. Now it's time for my third card, and this one is multiple images stamped in a line. So this is a set called Nature's Friends, and it's got some silhouette images of some really sweet animals, so deer, fox and rabbits. And what I've done is just use my stamp press again and I'm lining up these images. So their feet, sorry, I bet my cat's lying under the bed. Anyway, so the feet of the animals are all along one of the grid lines, but then I can also use the lines that are on my stamp press to keep my stamping lines of my multiple images straight. And I am staggering them a little bit. The colour I'm using is aquamarine, so it's a real pretty blue colour. And you'll notice that the first line of the animals didn't stamp out particularly well, but I'll come in and fix that in a moment. So I also will sometimes look at the left and right edge of the grid lines and of my cardstock, but generally with this kind of stamping I'm really just looking at the straight line across the bottom, because if it's straight and the animals are fitting, then it should be fine. So I've got a pencil here. This is a Prismacolor pencil, and it's the light aqua one, and it's pretty much exactly the same color as this ink. So I just came in and fixed up some of those lines and made them a bit sharper on that stamping where it hadn't stamped very well. The sentiment's from the same set, and I did think about popping it up, but this time I just stamped it directly on the front of the card, and I used my Misty for safety. You know how it goes. My next card has the really cute image. So this is a slapstick cling stamp. So that works on this stamp press as well. And it's quite a big image. It's called Dancing and Prancing. It's a group of penguins. And I found this is easier to stamp from the bottom up. That way I could kind of work out where my images were and just stamp above. And that worked out well. I thought it'd be fun to create a speech bubble sentiment on some bright orange cardstock, and it says jingle, and that's from the Sweetest Moments stamp set. So I did have to selectively ink that up. I just used some post-it notes and embossed it with white, and now I'm cutting it out with a chat bubble. And they're a solid die, so I just did that sneaky trick where you die cut another die and then lay it over top and then run it through your die cutting machine. I did actually add that extra die cut to the back of my speech bubble to make it a little bit more solid so that it wouldn't get bent in the post. I figured it'd be fun just to colour one of the images. I could have done them all, that would have been fun too, but it's already a long video and it took me a while to do, so I thought one was fun. And of course it was the jumping or the dancing or the it'd be the prancing one, I reckon. Added that to the front of my top fold card and popped up my sentiment. How cute's that? So that's a line of, that's a slapstick, and it's actually another stamp that comes with a line of images that I've just repeatedly stamped. How quick was that? Now my last card is quite different. This isn't a line of stamping. This is actually a panel of stamping, and I've got the Christmas poinsettia stamp using some Memento Tuxedo black ink because I'm going to be colouring this with my Copics, and I'm going to colour the whole thing with my Copics, and I won't make you sit through all of that. It took me ages and my hand was aching at the end. So I didn't really do any shading at all. I just decided to do just some solid colouring instead because I knew it was going to take a while. This would look beautiful shaded and coloured more realistically. I just thought it was fun not to do it that way. I just wanted to just put some solid colours down. Now I've only done a whole panel of cardstock colouring a few times. It's not one of my go-to techniques, but I thought it'd work really well on this particular panel just to give it some boldness. And I've come in with the W7 because I don't own a black marker, and I thought the C9 that I do own, which is nearly black, was just a bit of a cool grey. I wanted that sort of warm colour, and it's something different. Why not? Now the lines that I'm creating here are actually panels. So once I've done all of my colouring, I just roughly worked out where I wanted the panels to be, and I've cut this panel of coloured cardstock into 3 panels. And then die cut the word joy. So that came from the coordinating die set, from the Christmas poinsettia cutout dies. And then what I decided to do was actually pop my 3 panels up. I did add some fun foam behind them, and I used some score tape. And because my colouring, I think it turned out okay, I just thought it'd be fun to add some splatters. I did think about doing some Copic dots, but some white splatters made it to the front of the card, and then I popped up the sentiment, negative portion of the sentiment I should say, and that's my finished card. Thanks so much for watching. I'll put all the links in the description below, and if you like this video, please like it, and if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.